Hello, folks. This is Jeff Davis with the legendary Jeff Davis Show from Central Texas, USA. And I love Mike Hanson Archives. Peace out, baby.
The information you're receiving is controlled. We have questions for KXAN News 36. We offered to give them the footage by Patricia Moore of mass graves in southern Mexico, the armored personnel carriers and everything else, but you don't care. But the big question is what happened in 1993 in Waco. The flare footage is out. The feds own videotape. Their flare footage of the feds opening fire indiscriminately on men, women, and children. The media is controlled. You are controlled. You are vessels of corruption. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. And earlier you were out here waving your hands at us, laughing at us. That's exactly it. You're the fools. You're the people. You're part of this country too. You're part of this system too. You have the IRS abusing you too. Is your puny little job mean you've got to be an accomplice to this corrupt system? We've got questions and we want answers. Why are you refusing to report the truth? KXAM 36. What is the big problem, KXAM 36? And something else we want to talk about is we're going to report down there on 4th of July, and you equated us with U.S. flag burners, people burning the United States flag. Well, you see here today the United States flag flying proudly. We were shredding UN flags. Your guilt by association is disgusting, KXAM 36, and you know it's true. But we're not going to back down, or we're not going to stop showing what's really happening in this country. We know sheep like you and furniture don't matter. That's why we're proactive and motivated. We no longer react to your propaganda. We're acting, and we're acting now. So get that straight and understand that. We're not going to stop pushing because we know that resistance is not futile. We're going to continue to work as hard as we can to educate the public on radio and TV here in Central Texas about what you and your accomplices and the other modern bureaus of propaganda are engaged in. So you've got fair warning, media. We are going to continue to show what a pack of manipulating liars you are. How your controllers control the information that is released to the public. Again, KXAN, you are guilty of covering up what happened in Waco. The government's own footage is there from Waco Rules of Engagement, and it came out in 1994 in the Senate hearings. You are disgusting, KXAN 36. Now go over there and get Greg. Greg's going up to the door. This country organized them while they're covering up the information. We want answers. We want answers now. Now people are getting angry at us. All we want is the information, please. All we want is answers about Waco Rules of Engagement. That's all we're asking for. All we want is for you to tell us what's going on in southern Mexico. We've got the footage. We've got the footage.
We're here, man. We're not violent. We just want to sit down. All we want to do is just sit down and talk.
We've got the footage. We came over here nicely twice. We got the footage of what's going on in southern Mexico for people on the ground. You are nothing but a cheap propaganda house. No more lies. You're nothing but the regional governorship of NBC Propaganda Network. Of course, we show you how to get it open. The media is lying to you. The media is controlled by 6 major corporations with interlocking stock. The CFR has all the major heads and presidents of all the major media. The information you're receiving is controlled. The information you're receiving is controlled.
Very good.
6-7 months from now in mid-1999. But I guess it doesn't matter to y'all. It doesn't matter because you're part of the elite, aren't you? No, you're just wannabe petty media, wannabe sycophants, Tony, look through the establishment. You can't make excuses about the truth. The truth is, I don't have all the answers, but I know that you're consistently lying your ass off every day, KXAN, being manipulated. Why propaganda. You got that KXAN 36? You are suppressors of information. Tell us how to cook chicken or barbecue or how to wash our dog or how to mow our lawn. We don't want that anymore. We want information. And we've offered you the information and you didn't want it. Not us to try to argue a point. You just stare indoors and then come and complain about where we're parked. I have to call the government bureaucrat. I need the government to help me, please. I love you, the government. What you've been engaged in. We're out here doing something that takes big-time courage. You don't have any courage, and we're challenging you to have the courage. We came out here several months ago and tried to give you the footage from Patricia Moore of the mass graves in southern Mexico and the Mexican police and military in black uniforms pulling people out of their huts. Innocent Indians that the companies want their land. We left. You didn't want it. You insulted us. I came in here peaceably. And then a month later, you smear me and others by associating us with a flag burner. I think that's wrong.
3 hours.
Some flag burners out there, and 3 hours later, you associate our rally where we're shredding United Nations flags. United Nations flags. Long live the Constitution and the Republic for which it stands. We shall prevail.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, Rebel!
Why don't you talk about it? Get you, huh? What's up, man? Hey, buddy. See, I like you, but that's just talk about the whole place. Just talk about it's a local scandal.
Hey, Jesse. Hey, Jesse. Up to 42.
What?
42 people.
All right.
That's good. Don't worry, though. The media would come out here. There were 5 people begging for the city to steal somebody's property. Oh, yes. They would come right out here and cover 42 people out here in defiance of their media. They would cover the whole thing, but they're not going to cover it because they don't want to cover it. But if it was some bureaucrat lobbying to steal our property, they'd be out here lavishly giving them coverage. Just one more example in a long line of controlled media, right here in the River City.
Who are those? Right.
This 36.
Thank you, folks, for being willing to think about what's happening. I know we seem aggressive, but you see these people all over the place getting excited about football. What's wrong with getting excited about your freedom? Good job for at least being interested. That's what it takes to break their hold on our minds. They're conditioning us. It's called propaganda. Oh!
Look at all these, the numbers are growing out here, 36. Look at them. Cars are bad. Beeping as they go by. They want information. Now!
And exactly, I will re-echo those words. In fact, I think we ought to concentrate our media attack on them. I think for the next 6 months we ought to have a protest out here monthly, so we've got 500 people out here. Now let's see you ignore that. Yeah, we know what you're all about, KXAN 36, but we're not here to even get coverage of this. We're here to make you think inside. This is not junior high, this is not high school. Why are you behaving like that? Why is there this junior high mentality? Huh? Answer our question. Why is there this mentality? We're not gonna back down. We're gonna set bushfires in the minds of men. Senator Bush and the Skull and Bones Society at Yale, a loving organization, even been on A&E. You're getting beat out by cable TV like A&E and show the facts about how they get in coffins and worship the devil. That's our own governor. And that's not Alex Jones talking about that. That was A&E about Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones Society, Yale Law School. Get it straight, KXAN. You know don't get anything straight. But I don't think you're a bunch of bumbling fools. You know exactly what you're doing at the higher levels. There are a lot of the minions that work here, the little mindless people that do their job and fill out their paperwork. Oh, no, they're the perfect type dudes.
Now we're fixing to get to the truck police.
But first, we're going to take some calls. I want to be sure and mention that was the KXAN Channel 36 News protest. There were about, I think we counted 47 people, and a lot of them brought their children. So we had a nice crowd. We had a good crowd out there. We were able to pass a lot of information. We got a lot of people coming by honking their horns and putting giving us the thumbs up sign. We were able to give them a lot of the literature that we've been talking about. So that was
Jess.
Oh, I think it was.
It's a live show.
There we go. It's a live show. What do you know? Okay. It would help a lot. That was a KXAN Channel 36 to start over again. KXAN Channel 36 news protest put on by, or basically organized by Texans for Freedom. That's Jesse Estry's organization. And now we're going to take your calls. So call up.
Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead, caller. Oh,
Hello?
there we go.
You're on the air.
Go ahead.
Hello, I wanted to commend you guys for getting up there and put some information out about what's going on.
Thank you.
And I wanted to let you know, I'm afraid that we're going to have to make the people want to understand what's going on in order to have them reported on the news, and also to get rid of a lot of these taxes that we pay. I wanted to have you guys see if you guys would talk a little bit about that, see if you agreed, and
About our
Yeah,
oppressive
we'll get to that.
taxation
Thanks for
system?
calling.
We'll be sure and talk about that. Thanks for your call.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. When the American colonists were dumping tea into the harbor, they had a combined taxation of, by most estimates, right around 19 or 20%. Even the most conservative estimates today put our combined taxation at least 38%, and most people consider it to be right around 58 to 60%. When I say combined taxation, I'm talking federal, sales taxes, local, municipal, state, gas tax, everything.
Licenses, fees.
Right, and
Everything.
the analogy I heard one time was if you could imagine a dog carrying around a tick that's 60% the size of the dog. I mean, that's essentially what happens to you. And I know a friend of mine who was victimized by the federal government in terms of the IRS. He bought this little bitty house out in Bertram, paid like $8,000, $9,000 for it cash, or I think he might have financed it over a few years, made a bunch of repairs to it, crawled around under the house to level the house. I mean, crawling around there with the scorpions and the worms and every other thing, leveling that house. Gets on top of the roof in the middle of the summertime, puts a new metal roof on in the middle of the Texas summer heat.
That's hot work,
scrapes,
Steve.
paints the house, all this stuff. Now it's worth probably $20,000, $25,000. And a lot of people don't understand this. If he goes and sells that house and doesn't buy a house of equal or greater value, he has to pay what's called capital gains tax on his on the difference between the roughly $9,000 and the $25,000 he might be able to sell it for. Guess how much capital gains tax is? About 38%.
His sweat equity. He's going to be paying taxes on his sweat that he used and his labor to improve his living conditions.
So for all his hard work, he would have to give roughly half of that to the federal government. And they weren't under that house crawling around with the scorpions with him. Caller, you're on the air.
Steve.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Joe.
Hey, what's going on, Joe?
How you doing?
Pretty good.
Have you ever heard of a guy named David Hinkson?
I don't think so. Who is it?
does sound familiar.
Well, he's a guy that's really done a lot of studying in the Constitution, and I'm going to order some information and get it to you somehow. But anyway, it's really, really interesting. And in I think it was 78, during Lincoln's administration, we did have the United States Constitution of America, and under Lincoln's administration, what they formed was the United States, and that is a corporation, and not the United States of America. And under that corporation, they own our cars, our boats, our land, and the reason that they've been able to do that is that it starts as soon as we're born, when we're issued a birth certificate.
Birth certificate, that's right.
Driver's license, anything else, all of our name is in capital letters, which in effect is a dead person. It's not us.
This ties right into something we've seen locally here. Desi Andrews talk about. These are these invisible contracts we talked about earlier.
Right, but that's what gives them the right to take away our our property, it's because it is the United States is a corporation, not the United States of America.
It's a contractual obligation.
That's right.
That's what it is.
That's right. So anyway, unless you get a lodial title to whatever you own, they have access to it and can get it. But it's just really, really interesting, the scam that has been perpetrated against us since 1878.
By the way, I got the tape.
Oh, you did?
In the article that went with it, yeah.
Okay.
Brandon had the mailbox key, so I couldn't get it until today, so all that work to get it fast. And so I'll get that on the website as soon as I can. By the way, for those of you who don't know, the website that I'm talking about there, I've neglected it for a while. I've had a lot of things going on, but that's downsize.ml.org. No W's or anything like that. Just go to your web browser, type in downsize.ml.org. Apparently there's some problems with it right now. I had 2 real audio tapes of some surviving Branch Davidians, Clive Doyle and Catherine Madison, confronting in the first ever face-to-face meeting between surviving Branch Davidians and an ATF agent named Dale Littleton. And there's a complete unedited excerpt of that. And very soon I need to get Dale Littleton, the ATF agent that was gracious enough to come and speak, get his unedited speech on there. I think it's important for people to be able to hear the whole thing and make decisions on their own. Joe, is there any other quick things so I can let you go and get to one more call before we get to this tape?
No, that's it, but I'll try to get that information.
Okay, appreciate it.
Great.
One other quick call, and then we're going to get to this story about the
truck police.
Truck police here in Austin. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Got a quick question. I saw y'all last week, and y'all were talking about some of our national parks. We've lost ownership of them. Is that correct?
That's not wholly accurate. It's kind of the net effect. There was an executive order that was issued, which essentially grants immunity to many of these UN officials and UN programs, the UN Biosphere program, and I'm drawing a blank. It figures you're asking me something that I don't have directly in front of me. The UN Biosphere program and and this is Alex Jones's area of expertise, so I feel a little bit out of place here. I can't think of the other name of it. The World Heritage Site, a World Heritage Site. And because it grants immunity to them, among other things, to become one of these World Heritage Sites or part of this UN Biosphere program, you have to be willing to agree to all the rules and the stipulations that the UN puts forth, these UN programs put forth. And so in essence, they come under control, and then you see a good map of which sites are. In essence, these parks have come under control of the United Nations. Now, as far as ownership, you could easily make the extrapolation that this is essentially going to be used as collateral on our debt to the United Nations, which I believe it's over $1 billion.
It's over $1 billion now. That's
right.
Correct.
I'll tell you what you do is if you'll get in touch with Alex Jones, he's really more the expert in this area. It's something that I'm only recently becoming familiar with and just have a peripheral knowledge of. I know some of the basics. I'm sure I got some of it wrong, but he really knows it in detail.
Appreciate the information.
Okay.
I appreciate the job y'all are doing.
Well,
thank you, sir. Thanks for calling and watching.
All right, we're going to get to this tape now. This is I believe it's Austin Police Department Truck Police, and basically this is more revenue generation, folks. I saw this actually several months ago and called into the Sam and Bob show and let those guys know, and they were like, "Oh, what's the big deal?" Which they, I can understand that. I want to make this quick comment that, a lot of what we talk about is similar to quantum physics. Now, I know you're saying, whoa, that's a leap. But anybody who knows anything about quantum physics and knows anything about quantum theory and quantum mechanics knows that so much of quantum mechanics, many of the subatomic particles we've identified, only exist when you begin to look for them. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole broad theory of it, but so much of what we're talking about, until you look for it, until you start educating yourself, you're not going to understand what's there. It's not there to you until you look for it. I heard somebody say the other day they bought a little Mazda pickup truck for themselves, and they said, wow, there's a lot of Mazda pickup trucks on the road. Well, because they never looked for them before. There was many Mazda pickup trucks on the road before, but they never looked for them because they never had one. And when you get educated and when you really start understanding many of the things that's going on around you, you're going to start seeing it everywhere. The kind of corruption we talk about is everywhere you look. And we see it now with Austin Police Department, with their revenue generation, with their truck police. So if Mike's got that tape ready,
this will be great. They've been working on this story for about 5 weeks now.
5 weeks, that's right. You got that ready, Mike? All right, here they go.
To see is a very important one. It's about truck drivers being harassed. Truck drivers that even have new or almost new vehicles. They are pulled over en masse or they are pulled over individually. And they are made to go through hours of extensive testing on their vehicles. They are given massive fines. This is absolutely horrific. Stand back and objectively think about this. You are guilty until proven innocent. That's how it is in third world dictatorships. Again, there is no Constitution. The Bill of Rights is being flushed down the commode. The Second Amendment is non-existent. A right is something that is not licensed, and these guys are breaking no laws. If they have a wreck or run into somebody or cause a problem, they should be charged accordingly for negligence. But to pull people over en masse and harass them and give them tickets for absolutely no reason, well, that is the modern highwayman. If you want to use these roads, you got to pay this hidden tax. We're here with a dump truck driver named Jack Brown. First driver we've talked to, and he says every driver will tell us the same thing that we've been hearing, that the police and the system, through revenue generation, feed off the people that are trying to work hard. What are some examples of basically what they do to you?
Oh, they yank you over for, well, a guy the other day got one for a low tire. I mean, that's a bunch of crap. You know, these trucks, we work our butts off 13 hours a day, just trying to make a living like everybody else. I mean, you don't ever see them pulling over like any Austin. Anybody works for Capital Metro, Austin, you don't see their trucks ever being pulled over. Never. Because the city's not going to police the city because they're not going to make any money off themselves. They can yank me over and within 20 minutes revenue $600-700 worth of tickets.
Well, your truck looks almost brand new.
A brand new truck can come out of the parking lot and they're going to find something wrong with it every time.
Well, I was talking to Jimmy, who's a friend of mine, and he gave me a whole stack of tickets, stuff for spillage, and they say that if a little pile of sand is on your bumper, they'll call that spillage.
Yeah, they do. But you take the private Joe out there is taking his trash to the city dump, and he'll have, you know, this and that blowing off of it. They don't yank them over. There's no money involved. They're going to pull us over because they know these trucks are making money. They know that these trucks are going to be on the road 7 days a week. They know that they can always make a quick dollar off of them. Guaranteed. Every day.
Well, Jimmy has a pretty new truck, and there's no oil leak, but one day it was raining, and they climbed around in the truck, inside the cab, everywhere, and said, oh, look, you're leaking oil. That's an $80 ticket. Oh, look, you don't have your fire extinguisher properly stored. And Jimmy said to him, wait a minute, this is, the bed of this truck is 6 yards. I don't have to have a fire extinguisher. And he still got out of that ticket, but the point is, they're out just giving 5 or 6 tickets every time they pull somebody over.
That's because the average person ain't going to go down and fight it. They're just going to say, oh, well, you know, okay, I don't know the law, I'm stupid. I just know how to drive this truck. They think people, just because we drive a dump truck or a tractor trailer, we're stupid. You know, it takes a lot of experience and it takes a lot of responsibility to drive one of these trucks. You know, and we're fighting traffic as it is. I mean, go out and fight these people that are out here selling dope on the corner. They're not worried about them. They're worried about giving me a damn $100 ticket because, oh, I didn't pull my tarp and a little speck of dirt come up because I got a low tire or I got a little bit of grease. There's cars out here that are probably using 2 and 3 quarts a day all over the damn roads. Where are them tickets at? How come they're not writing them people up?
Well, there's no money in harassing them.
No, it's private citizens. They're not going to go after a private citizen. They're going to go after somebody that they know has money coming in the door. And that's what the damn city of Austin's based on.
So basically it's a shakedown, it's extortion. It's just like the mob up north. It's the cost of doing business is almost like in the old West, you'd try to go down a road and there'd be some bandits that said, well, if you want to use this road, you're going to have to give us some money.
That's all the police department is. Whether it's Austin, Houston, any state in the United States, that's all it is, legalized mob.
Well, we hear that Texas didn't used to have this, but since Elizabeth Watson, who has now left to a $244,000 a year job at the Justice Department as a fellowship, sitting around all day, probably probably having fun with Reno up there in some bubble bath or something. Excuse me, I'm sorry. But we hear that now it's just Houston and Austin, both places that she's been chief.
That figures. Where'd she go, Washington?
She sure did. She works for Reno now.
Look out, people. She's coming. She'll get your ass, too, just like she does us.
Well, listen, please keep on keeping the economy going. We know it's not Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
We know it's the hard-working people that keep the economy going.
It's the United States, man.
That's right.
It's the United States. I mean, this place is crooked. It's been crooked, and, you know, but they're out there fighting the mob. Hell, what about legalized mob? DPS, APD, Houston. It don't matter where you go. We're going to get screwed. So
Well, I like your point, Mr. Brown, that they're not out here worried on East 11th, where I drive by every day, going down to the Access TV studios. I will see prostitutes, people actually selling crack, some of the taxi drivers down there delivering drugs. You won't see a cop anywhere.
Yeah, but who you going to make more money off of? Putting them in jail or writing me a damn $600 ticket?
You hear that out there, Austin? We need our police punishing criminals, not sucking off the hard-working people.
City sells an overweight permit to drive on streets. Still write you an overweight ticket. Even though you purchase a ticket for... I was told, I don't know if that's fact or not, but I was told them tickets are about $100,000 a year. That's an overweight permit is what it is. And they still, BFI, Longhorn, Syntax, all of them, they still will hit you for overweight tickets.
So the rationale is pay the $100,000, your trucks can drive overweight and maybe cause a little bit of damage to the streets that the truck's built, and even if you buy it, they'll still give you a ticket.
Yeah, basically. I don't know if that's what the ticket, that's what I was told that the permit cost every year is $100,000.
What exactly is this about spillage? I mean, I'm hearing from personal friends of mine that if you have a little bit of dust on your bumper, they'll run a glove across it and call it spillage.
That's it. That's it.
So I guess my truck, after a couple of weeks of not being washed, has spillage all over it.
Of course. But you don't make the kind of money that truck makes.
Exactly.
That personal pickup doesn't make the money that truck makes. You know, that's exactly the way they look at it. But you know,
they feel like, oh, you're out making money. What are you complaining about? We can suck off you.
That's right. But see, I don't own my own truck. But these guys that own their own trucks, people, I don't think they realize these guys. They go, oh yeah, they're making $4 grand a week, but they're not. These guys have $1,600 a month truck payments.
Fuel.
They've got tires that cost $300 a piece. You can go through 1, 2, 3 tires a week. You know, these jobs are hell on these tires. You've got you got to buy this material. This material ain't cheap. You know, it's just, it all adds up. You know, and then you're paying yourself a salary of about $500.
Yeah, but what do bureaucrats know? Checks just come to them.
That's right.
I mean, to them.
Hey, it's all about lobbying. If I had the money to get out here and lobby, these trucks would never get pulled over. It's who you know and who you can pay and how much.
Well, now, that's something we've heard, is that some of the big companies and people that have big government contracts get left alone.
Of course. Look at the airline industry. They've been saying these planes are unsafe for years, but it just goes through the paperwork, nothing ever gets done because they got a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Dump truck drivers don't have that kind of money. I mean, if we started our own union and come in here, well, you know, we'd clean that so quick. But, you know, it's too hard to fight and get the union in here because you know, too many people out there don't want it here. So you just kind of play the game is all you do.
Well, thanks for talking to us. We're going to go out and talk to some other people and find out exactly what's going on here, but it looks like standard operating procedure for the mob. Thanks a lot. The backbone of our economy is the people that actually get out there and produce and work. People you see building these houses, the people delivering the sand and the concrete, picking up the waste. That's what we have to have in this country. People can bitch and complain all day, but that's where you live. That's how you live. And I'm sick of bureaucrats sucking office, and then all that cost gets passed on to us. Meanwhile, bureaucrats shuffle papers and sit around like Bill Bunch of SOS, who claimed on KGFK radio a couple months ago that the government is what has given us prosperity. No, I think it's people working their ass off. I think that's what gives us prosperity.
I've had the brake line pods blow because, you know, they tell you to bleed the brakes down while you're pumping the brakes when they could just as easily open and, you know, all they want to do is check to see if the buzzer's going to go off. And all they have to do is just open a valve down there and let the air out of the truck, which the buzzer will go off. they won't do it that way. They want to take it the hard way, make you pump the brakes down, you know, so you're taking a chance of blowing brakes and breaking shoes and all kind of stuff like that.
So they make you damage your equipment.
Right.
But you say they don't have to do that. Why are they making you do that if they don't have to?
Well, yeah. All they wanted to see was just your buzzer go off. If your buzzer doesn't go off, that's another ticket, you know, so you're supposed to have some sort of a warning in there if you get low on air.
And you're saying there's a simple way of doing it?
Oh, right, just drain the air tank. Let the air out of the air tank, and the buzzer's going to go off. Simple.
But well, why do you think they make you do something that's dangerous and bad for your vehicle and takes longer?
Well, they know it's probably going to tear something up, and that's going to give you another ticket right there, you know.
You're saying they actually want to damage the equipment sometimes?
Sometimes that's what it seems like.
Who mainly pulls you over?
Austin DOT. Austin DOT.
How many vehicles do they have, or do you know?
Oh, I don't know. They've got quite a few, though. The way they've pulled us over before is that they've stopped people out there on Dalton Lane, and I mean just line trucks up all the way down Dalton Lane. In the state of Texas, DOT doesn't even do that. You know, when you come across the scales, they fill the scales up. All the other trucks going by, but Austin DOT and the county DOT, they stopped everybody.
So they stop you and make you sit there for an hour?
Right, it was hours. It was more than an hour. It was hours.
How long that you were losing money?
Oh, probably a good 2.5 hours sitting there.
And these trucks are expensive to maintain. You have to be out driving to make money.
Exactly. And then when we did get up there, they really didn't thoroughly check the truck. All they just wanted is your paperwork and driving license. That's it. All that for that.
There's something that's very important, Brian, and you just said it. You're saying they pull you over and make everybody line up before they've even seen anything's wrong. Last time I heard it was innocent until proven guilty. They had to have a reason to pull you over, and now they got trucks lined up looking for things. That's not how the Constitution and the Bill of Rights are written.
Exactly right.
They're supposed to, once you have a problem, then they throw the book at you. They don't pull everybody over and just hand out tickets for nothing and make you break your equipment so they can charge you more. Is that true?
That's true.
Well, sir, I'm sorry that the local and state government is sucking off you like the mafia, extortion. But hey, that's what you get. They don't work. They've got to suck off somebody that is producing. That's what it's all about. It's called being a parasite.
Right, right. I think it's a joke to them. For as many hours we put in on the road, you know, as far as actual drive time hours, man, it's just a bunch of crap that they're going to get out there and mess with us, you know. It's getting other people.
Like another driver said, crack dealers on the corner.
Right. I mean, you see them all the time. You know, we drive by people smoking dope and everything down in cars, drinking beer and all that, you know, as we drive by, and we get to deal with them people every day.
So basically, it just goes back to the same thing. Y'all are making a little bit of money. They want to steal it.
Exactly right.
Now we're going out to expose the truck police in action. It's got to be an easy job, too, to pull over hardworking people at your leisure. There's some more compadres staked out, having a good day, enjoying themselves.
You see me yet? No.
This is where they're hanging out.
Which one are you going to follow, that one, or? Is he turning around too? He's sitting over there. Is he on the grass? He is on the grass. That's where they pull him over in.
They must be pulling somebody over down there. That's what they're on.
Oh, he's sitting there waiting to pull somebody over.
We'll go sit in that parking lot down there.
Yeah. I'm not going to interfere. We're going to be way back here, aren't we? What about up there on that deal up there? What about up there on that hill right there?
What do you mean?
On that hill right there.
Yes.
Good thing we came back around.
Oh, yes. Look at them.
Right up on the top of the hill. God, they're everywhere. They're swarming. Where do you want to get closer? Right here, or we're going to get closer?
We're going here by this mobile home place.
Yeah.
Look at them. Oh, my God. Get the camera on.
What are you doing?
I'm pulling up to the next drive.
Black uniformed police. Making sure we're safe. Austin police. Out here feeding off the commerce. Let's go around and talk to them. might want to get some of the officers. Let's walk on down this way. Come. Military shoes, military outfit. We're pulling trucks over. Here we go. And again, they'll say it's for the children, but the question is, why not punish people once they commit a crime rather than revenue generation? Get right there, Mike.
Where?
Right there. Get the boots.
Yeah, I am. Let me get.
Why is everybody wearing combat boots these days and fatigues? Get those combat boots.
I am getting them. I got a close with them.
It's ridiculous. Look at that poor truck driver.
Yeah. Did they give him a ticket?
Look, they're laughing at us. Look, they're combing their hair. That's hilarious.
They're leaving. See, we scared them off.
Yes, they're leaving this gentleman. They've been inspected before committing a crime, and now they can go about their business. You're guilty until proven innocent.
Well, they're going to take him somewhere else.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. Yeah, they're pulling him over to a proper area so they can fine and fee him properly. Austin didn't used to have the modern truck police feeding off the thoroughfares and all the commerce, and that's what it is. Tribute. You must pay tribute to the city, to the state, to the county. Disgusting behavior. People of Austin need to get involved, get motivated, and stand up against this as well. Bureaucracies are growing faster than ever here in America. Well, here's some more loving activity as we do this license and weight story. You see, we pay to build these roads massive amounts of taxes, state, local, federal, and then if you don't pay the myriad parking tickets for the pleasure to park on your streets, they hire all these minions to give you tickets. Revenue generation. If you don't pay your parking ticket, you get one of these for your best interest. Well, we're going inside to see what's going on with Big Government Central, Payoff Central, right here on the Freedom Report. Do what? Yeah, people are in here having to pay people off to be able to construct things. That never happens? That's $65 million we just paid for? Well, here we are at Big Government Central. We have the Intake Permit Center, Development Assistance Kickback Center, Austin Transportation Boondoggle Center. And you have the poor people that are trying to construct things have to come in here and bow down and buy environmental studies and continue to increase the power of Kirk Watson's big city machine that's starting to rival New York, turn of the century. Let's go. How you doing? Can I have the Smart Growth Package, please?
The Smart Growth Package? We don't have... Was Ellie supposed to be leaving you one?
No, I just heard about it and I heard they were giving them out and I just need one.
Okay, Ellie Malone's the one who's doing that. I'll call her for you.
Thanks.
Sure.
We got the Smart Growth Package from them, about a 15-page document. This is just a teaser of reports you'll see in the future. In the transportation section, they state twice that they want to restrict cars and reduce the use of automobiles in Austin and push us towards mass transit and more things like light rail, as if Capital Metro hasn't been a big enough boondoggle and a corrupt system. Anyone who knows anything knows how corrupt. We have one of the most corrupt transit agencies in the country. Even the state has said that. And then they talk about how they want to buy up land in bond packages and much more. This is a reality here in Austin. They've been succeeding via ignorance. But again, you'll hear more on this in the future.
Well, there you have it, Austin. You see how corrupt the truck police are, just basically a revenue gathering agency. You see when you talk about smart growth, what it's really about. And what's interesting about smart growth is what you're really dealing with is an age-old idea that government somehow can control huge, very complex capitalist economies. It's completely impossible. It's pure folly. The only effect they can have is to restrict money supplies and overtax and burden the citizens. But really, what you see is anytime governments try and get involved in capitalist economies is they just waste their money and their time and their effort. Tax money that instead of tax money, imagine if that money that we spend on taxes was infused into our economy. You just think we have a good economy. We don't. We just have a lot of money in circulation. Imagine if we had the money that we send to Washington, if you had it in your back pocket in terms of buying power, what kind of economy that would create. These guys never get it. They genuinely, I think, believe in their hearts that they're actually going to do some good, but what they don't understand is they do nothing. They're just...
Never happens.
It's a fact. It is just a simple fact. Look at your history. Capitalist economies are too big, too complex for such a tiny group of individuals to have an effect on. So all they end up doing is wasting your taxpayer dollars.
I agree 100%. You said it all.
We're going to get to a bunch of your calls. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, very interesting program. I'm a first-time viewer. I like the last report. It's very eye-opening. The question I had was, in light of the recent incident in the Capitol in Washington, what do you think the prospects are for additional legislation, security, quote-unquote, legislation coming out of that?
Well, I'll answer that real quick. Hey, thanks for your call. We're going to try and get to a bunch of calls, so I'm not cutting you off. But
first-time caller watcher, appreciate you.
Right. This is what's interesting about this. My understanding is, from the news reports that I've gotten through the internet, through mainstream news organizations, is that President Clinton at that very moment was in giving a speech on gun control. So let me tell you my views on the Second Amendment. They're very clear. You have a God-given right, or in the case of someone who perhaps doesn't believe in God, if you just believe in nature as being your creator, let's just use the word creator, you have a creator-given right to protect yourself and protect your family. If that involves firearms, then it involves firearms. The Second Amendment was designed to protect that right that you have to bear firearms. If you read, among other things, the Federalist Papers, which is a series of essays that many of the framers of the Constitution wrote to argue on behalf of the Constitution to the citizens of colonial America, they wrote saying clearly what the Second Amendment was for, and that was to protect the citizens against standing armies. They felt that a standing army was a very dangerous thing. Now, what do I mean by a standing army? I'm talking about basically what we have today, an army that's paid full-time, that they believed in militias, similar to what we see in, I believe it's Switzerland, whereas that all the citizens have a firearm, have rifles, things of that nature, and in the event of some sort of national emergency, all the people would run to their closet, grab their rifle, and go out and protect the country.
Like the Minutemen.
The Minutemen, exactly. We've all studied that even in today's government indoctrination centers that we call public schools. We even know that. That was their idea. They hated the idea of a standing army because they just lived through that. They had the standing British Army, and it was the British Army that was the tool of those who would put the citizens of colonial America under their heels and stomp on them and control them and manipulate them. They used that brute force. So what the Founding Fathers believed was we have to build in a way for citizens to protect themselves from standing armies. If you also go back, and I had a friend of mine, he's run for governor, R.C. Crawford. He ran for governor against George Bush. By the way, garnered 4% of the Republican vote, which is fascinating when you consider that basically he has been, George Bush has been handpicked to be our next president. That's a fact. When it happens, you can believe me later. And he's an immensely popular governor. R.C. still managed to pull 4% of the vote, over 20,000 votes, as I recall, of George Bush's own party. He went down to the UT Law Library. I imagine you can go down there yourself, research the first congressional record, and you find what the first congressmen, senators, representatives believed the Second Amendment meant. And they felt it meant that everybody, in fact, should have a gun. They had a problem with you not having a gun. And the biggest thing was that you see again and again was the danger of standing armies. They really believe that standing armies was the way for tyrannical governments to put people under their control and put people under their heels. And we see it again and again. It happened in Russia. It happened in Nazi Germany. If you control all the guns, you have the power. Same thing with Saddam Hussein over in Iraq. Do you think all the people walking around the streets of Iraq have pistols, sidearms, firearms, rifles? No. Why do you think he has such massive control over those people? So, yes, to answer the original question, I guess to get back to it, I'm certain this will be used as another example of why we have to get rid of guns. Interestingly enough, I think it's all kind of highly suspicious that somebody who was considered a low-level threat to the president, just kind of appeared as a blip on a radar screen at one time, ends up going into a Capitol shooting people. The very same weekend that President Clinton is subpoenaed to testify in the investigation against him regarding allegations that he might have suborned or committed perjury. You know, one has to wonder, how low will this president stoop? The kind of accusations that fly around him are phenomenal, especially that have gone virtually uninvestigated. Out of these 7 original people involved in the Whitewater land deal, 2 are dead, 3 are in jail, and 2 are in the White House. I mean, that's a fact. That is a fact. I saw that little intro on PBS documentary one time. 2 are dead, 3 are in jail, and 2 are in the White House. Actually, 1 was recently released because of medical problems. But, I mean, this is a guy, how low is this guy going to stoop? Is he willing to stoop low enough to send some crazy into the rotunda to shoot people in order to distract from the fact that he's going to have to go testify? I don't know.
And the guy had the temerity to not get killed in the process, so now we can actually talk to him later.
It makes me wonder. We're going to get to some more calls here. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir. My family, I have a lot of people in my family who does dump trucking, and I really think it's so unfair for them. First of all, they pay taxes, and second of all, they're given all these tickets, and you know, I think to overcome this, what they need to do is just all get together and do something about this, and not just leave things the way they are. Because a lot of people think that money grows off trees. And I personally think that they have bills. I mean, they have bills to pay. They have to get the diesel. They have to pay for all other expenses, and it's just not fair. So I think that all the dump truckers should get together and form some kind of get together and find a solution to the problem.
You know, my dad's
absolutely wonderful.
My dad's a truck driver, and I can tell you for a fact, these are some of the hardest working people you'll ever meet in your life. I mean, this is a job that's not glamorous. We see how television, and I've lived with this my whole life, commercials constantly poke fun at truck drivers. People constantly poke fun at truck drivers. So there's no glamour in this job. There's no reward other than the fact that you get an honest day's pay for an honest day's work. And to have police agencies target this group of individuals to generate revenue, corrupt is not even the word. This goes beyond anything that I've ever seen. And to see how they target, and I believe what the idea is that what they're trying to do is target, in essence, the corporation that owns the truck. Many of these, of course, are independent drivers that fall victims of this, and it's the ticket goes on their record. But I think these police agencies fully expect these corporations are just going to pay the tickets without fail in order to keep the trucks online. And we see clearly it's a revenue-generating thing. They have no desire. If they had any concern for the actual safety and well-being of people on the roads, then all they got to do is stand down in South Texas and get all the trucks coming up from Mexico that they just turn their heads on, because it's all part of NAFTA, it's all part of the love, it's all part of this wonderful free trade, but it's not free. We are held to a higher standard than the rest of the world when it comes to environmental concerns, when it comes to safety, and we don't hold the rest of the world to those same standards. If we did, sure, it's fair trade, but it's not. There are trucks coming up from Mexico that are in horrible shape, and I guarantee you they're not down there doing anything about that, because that goes back to IMF type stuff. We bailed out Mexico. If they're not having a good economy, they're not going to be able to pay back the IMF, all sorts of things. I mean, it's a much broader thing than this. That's why they're turning their heads on these trucks from Mexico, and they're targeting hard-working truck drivers such as the ones we saw in that article.
You're absolutely right, Steve. And the standards in Mexico are much lower than our standards. We have pretty good standards up here, but the standards in Mexico are much lower. And I got to tell you, my brother is a long-haul trucker, and he's been doing this for a very, very long time. He's been doing this for several years. And one of the things you neglected to mention when you talk about the corporations, there are so many independent truckers out there like my brother. No big corporation is going to pay that for him. He's going to have to pay that out of his hard-earned money. And it's not a glamorous job, but it is a good day's pay for a good day's work. The only bad part about it is you don't get to spend enough time with your family. You don't get to spend enough time with your family. And it's,
Caller, you're on the air. Before you talk, though, I want to thank our sponsor, 98.9 KJFK. Of course, Alex Jones, one of our co-hosts here on the Freedom Report that will be back here pretty soon, now has a radio show every night, besides his 4 hours on Saturday night. We very much thank KJFK. We know we get a lot of listeners as a result of their sponsorship. In fact, Saturday, one of the members of the Nation of Islam, in fact, I think he's really high up, Mike's probably going to run a slate there, is going to be on Alex's show on Saturday night. His name is Cedric Muhammad, and a member of the Nation of Islam called us and asked us, also too, very, very important, the producer of the Freedom Report is going to be down there in studio Saturday night to take some film footage, and you'll be able to see that next Monday right here on the Freedom Report. Of course, 7 to 8:30 every Monday night, as always, here like clockwork, and we'll be playing excerpts, some edited excerpts of that interview. I think it should be a really good one. So we really appreciate 98.9 KJFK.
That's
for being our
98.9 KJFK, free speech.
I believe they
free
say
speech.
The First Amendment at its best.
The First Amendment at its best.
Caller,
in Austin,
I believe you're on the air.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, you're on.
Oh, okay. Have you heard of a guy by the name of Robert Mueller at the UN, and he's behind a magazine there, I think it's a monthly magazine called, would you believe, One World. And what he advocates is a meditation type thing, brainwashing type, and trying to get all the heads of these countries at the UN to meditate in a
oh, really?
Yeah,
to go into a trance.
A Hindu type thing.
Oh,
and
sure.
This was from a show that I was watching. I think it was on Channel 16 last night, and it had a bunch of different stuff on it. It was on from 10:30 to 12, or from 12 to 1 o'clock.
You know, I haven't heard that. By the way, we're going to get to a bunch of calls, so I'm going to go ahead and release you. But what's interesting about a world government idea, if there were other worlds in our solar system or our universe that we had to compete with, there wouldn't be so much a problem with a world government. You could have some competition there to keep things in check. But the problem is, since we don't have contact with other worlds right now, there is no competition. A one world government would be the worst thing we could get involved in right now. And it was a very good friend of mine that had mentioned that to me one time. I had never thought about it in those terms before. He said, as long as there would be competition among worlds, there wouldn't be a problem with world government. But with no competition, it's a huge problem. Caller,
you're on the air.
When are we going to protest the police department? This is Shonda.
Hi, Shonda.
Hi, Shonda.
I don't know. That's a good idea. How about you pick a date for us?
Okay.
That's a good idea.
We'll go.
I'll do my best to be there. This is Shonda on the line from Freedom Lovers International, and you can call her at 933-1950, and you can get her free newsletter. Is that correct, Shonda?
That's right.
All right.
And I just thought I would throw that in there.
I appreciate all your emails, Shonda.
Bye-bye.
We're going to get to another call. Bye. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello, caller. You're on the air real quick. Hello, caller.
Oh, they're gone. One more. Well, I guess that's all of our calls because they're bringing up the queue there. Listen, folks, we don't want to wear you down with all this information. We're not trying to make you feel horrible and curl up into a little ball into the fetal position somewhere inside your house inside of your television set like many within government would have you do. We're actually trying to share with you some information and share with you some ideas of how you can stand up and fight this kind of tyranny and fight this kind of widespread government corruption.
And turn this thing around. We have absolutely had the ability to be able to turn this thing around. We would not be here if we didn't believe that. we'd be out in the cave in West Texas somewhere with some water and some, some food,
some remote,
some dried
island.
prunes or something.
That's
But
exactly
we still have the ability to turn this thing around. It is up to you. You must make a decision. These are hard times that we're going into. For a thinking individual, this is as hard, as tough as it gets. So think about it and do something about it. Act on it.
Stay tuned for more classics here on Mike Hanson Archives and our new channel, Waco Archives. And don't forget our oldest channel, Mike Hanson Archives, here on YouTube. Stay tuned for more, but make sure y'all get everybody to subscribe to Hanson Archives and the new one, Waco Archives. We're busy every day uploading more and more videos. We have hired somebody to do that and bought the equipment to do it. It's a lot of work. If you would like to help out with that situation, send us $25 and I will send you my book, and everything that comes in from my book will be used to fund these 3 channels. So stay tuned right here to YouTube and Facebook. I am Mike Hanson from Gonzales, Texas on Facebook. Thanks a lot, and God bless.
It is the best and most comprehensive book on Bohemian Grove, and it's written by Mike Hanson, my old camera guy.
Mike Hanson Archives. Are you ready to write?